Coming to you from the TheEoNProject Studios, perched high atop the banks of the majestic Blackstone River. Greetings from the jewel of the Blackstone Valley. You're listening to Experts of Nothing with Mike and Jay. Oh.
All right. Welcome to another exciting edition of the TheEoNProject with a new wrinkle today.
There is a wrinkle. There's a worldwide web audience overlooking the studio as we speak.
Millions of people can now see us.
Millions? I guess potentially.
Dozens of people can now see us.
There's probably one guy eating his Cheerios.
Yeah, he's wondering what we're doing.
Either that or he's on the toilet.
On his Facebook Live. Well, welcome to another edition of the TheEoNProject, where we discuss all manner of things.
Yeah.
Pertaining to all manner of topics.
Yeah, so we run the gamut of topics here on the TheEoNProject, as a matter of fact. And last week, we had a special guest.
We did, and it was a great show. We got a lot of listeners listen to that program. Although we did run into some technical difficulties that are heretofore unexplained.
They were unexplained. You know, I've been doing this for a while.
I heard you swallow really loud just now with your tea. That was delicious tea.
Warm tea. No, so I've been doing this, we've been doing this for a little while now. Oh, by the way, this is a foreboding. This is episode 13.
Yes, this is the triskaidekaphobia edition.
Yeah.
I've
never had a fear of the number 13.
I don't really think it's that big of a deal.
No, I don't either. But anyway, so, I've had this studio set up. They do numerous things on here. You know, obviously we do the show, we do music, we do all kinds of stuff.
Do lots of things in the studio.
I've never had a technical difficulty as we had last week, right around the 18-minute mark.
And if you noticed, and if you didn't listen to the show, please go back and listen to episode 12. It's a very interesting show if you can get past the technical difficulties that we had. But it's very auspicious in that it happened at a very specific time in the program where our guest, Nicole Magic LaHouse.
That's right.
Was discussing someone who had passed away in her home. And apparently what I found out after, I did converse with Nicole after the show, that she uses, she does a lot of different programs. She does a lot of different things, Nicole does. And she references that person specifically in some of her productions and some of her things.
Yeah.
And she thinks that maybe it was angry at her.
Really?
And well, it could have been, and that's what caused the...
And so it caused that that staticky malfunction.
Well, we don't really know what happened.
And it continued throughout the course of the rest of the show for some.
It did. It continues for the
rest
of the beginning of the show is fine. We incurred some technical difficulties, and we did struggle with not releasing it at all.
Yeah.
We decided to release it as is, just in case there was some sort of weirdo message in there.
Hey, it is what it is, and it's. You can't actually kind of hear what's going on. It's a bit annoying and unbearable at times, but you can still hear it.
You can hear it. But hopefully we won't have those issues again today. We're on Facebook Live for our first experimentation in that that process. Hello, friends, and hopefully,
hopefully there's nothing on there that I don't want them to see.
Well, you have pants on, which is a novelty.
I do.
Yeah. Normally for the broadcast, you don't have any pants.
Hey, something that happened in the midst of the interference that we had last week. I wanted to give a shout out, and I did give the shout out, but I don't know if that person was able to hear it or not, or got to that point of the show. Mr. Sebastian,
oh yeah,
a loyal listener from Tennessee.
Yeah, we talked about Sebastian.
We did last week. We did, but it was at the staticky portion, so I don't know if he heard it.
Oh, so let's do it again.
I want to say hi, Sebastian.
Hey, buddy.
Thank you for your loyal listenership.
Yeah,
and I did send the fridge magnet as promised.
Yep.
And you should be getting it, if you haven't gotten it already, it should be coming within the next couple days or so.
And we did get some responses for the totally free fridge magnet, TheEoNProject free fridge magnet, but we still have some left, so drop us a note at TheEoNProject@yahoo.com. That's TheEoNProject@yahoo.com. Or you can find us on our site, which is TheEoNProject.com.
That's
also
right.
on Facebook and also on Twitter.
Hey, I want to give you a quick update on a couple weeks, or maybe it was last week, I talked about... a new electric shaver that I bought.
Oh, I want to hear the update on the shaver.
So I hadn't used it yet because I hadn't received it since the last time we spoke.
Right.
But I've been using it faithfully for the past week or so.
Just on your face, though.
On my face. Yeah, I had the facial head on there.
Yeah.
And what a shave, I must say.
You happy with it?
So I splash a little pre-shave lotion on there.
Uh-huh.
It stands the whiskers right up, and the shaver it does a number on your face. You go over it pretty good, and gets you nice and smooth.
No,
finish it up with a little club man.
No,
perfect.
No, the best shave I ever had was the Art of Shaving products. You ever used the Art of Shaving?
I have.
Very expensive, very premium brand. And if you're listening to the program right now and you want to get Mike a gift, the Art of Shaving products are always well appreciated. So Anyway, today's episode is a little bit different. We don't have a special guest today, but we are going to be discussing a couple of different places that are here to the local to the area where we record that are accessible to the public and involve, they involve history, the paranormal, military history, all sorts of things, some sort of a weirdo physical characteristics and stuff like that. We're going to get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
And it's just to prepare the palate. It's called Nine Men's Misery, which that doesn't mean 9 men got married and subsequently divorced.
No.
That would be bad.
That is misery beyond words. Although I wouldn't know, because I myself have never been divorced.
No,
but
hopefully never.
And hopefully never will. And yeah, how about you? You
Did
happily
you hear that
married?
Slurpee? Yeah, I'm happily married.
Yeah,
happily married for many, many years. So I wanted to bring something up to you,
please.
And it just occurred to me as I was hearing. You know how at either award ceremonies or sporting events or whatever, what have you. Sometimes a person will get on, like the MC or whoever's running the event will get on and they'll say, "Put your hands together for Jay," and then everybody claps their hands.
Yeah. I've heard that a lot in my life, actually.
You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
So how come they say, "Put your hands together"? Wouldn't that just sound like this?
So put your
And then everybody in the audience goes,
yeah. So
one time.
You're supposed to put your hands together
Repeatedly. Yeah, so what they should say is, "Let's put your hands repeatedly in a rapid fashion for an extended period."
Like this?
That's how they should say it. Yeah, because if you just hear this, that's everybody putting their hands together one time. I don't understand where that comes from.
I don't either. Is this what you thought about last night while you were trying to go to sleep?
Sometimes, yeah, you get those weird thoughts in your head.
Oh, I have them in my head now.
So I wanted to talk to you real briefly and give a plug.
Please, plug
to a program that I discovered on Amazon Prime.
I love the Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime is good.
You get so many things there, the total package.
Yeah, Amazon Prime is good. Anyway, there's a show actually by a friend of the show, Jeff Belanger.
Yes.
Has a new program which is called New England Legends.
Oh.
Have you seen it?
I haven't.
Okay, so check it out.
I've seen Jeff, though.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So if you have Amazon Prime, if you don't have Amazon Prime, get it because it's worth it. But if you have it, it's called New England Legends, and it's Mr. Jeff Belanger, who is he's been a guest on our program in the past. And we've met in person. Actually, I've been on his show as well, his 30-odd minute show, which was a lot of fun.
Yes.
But you can find the show. He delves into a lot of New England legends. He actually visits the places, and he's an entertaining guy anyways. Check it out. It's well worth a watch.
Speaking of past guests, and we're going to get right into the topic here in a second, but so we had a past guest a few years back when Mike and I had our AM radio program, which was similar to this, a little bit different name, and
a little bit different format.
We're still green in this field.
We're way better now.
We were green as far as speaking into microphones go, but now we're seasoned veterans.
Yes,
but,
yes, with English accents.
His name was Scott Walter.
Oh yeah.
And Scott Walter, actually, I have a couple of his books over here on the shelf.
Over here?
And we'll talk more about him in a minute, but he talked a little bit about something that we're going to be discussing today. So I think what we're going to do as a follow-on to this program, we may go back and post that Scott Walter video.
Right.
He's an author. He's a geologist. He's done shows on the History Channel.
Yes.
And believe it or not, he came on a show with us.
He was a great guest, actually. Very knowledgeable, nice guy.
He was so good, we put off our commercials because we had commercials at the time.
We had sponsors and
Sponsors
everything.
weren't happy about that.
No.
Anyway, you want to get into this?
Yeah, so let's get into it. So we're actually gonna rewind the clock to a period in history of American history that most people have no idea even existed, and that's going to be the period before the Revolutionary War, which most people think that America, the Pilgrims landed, and the next thing that happened was the Revolutionary War. However, there was a very long period of time between those two events. And there was actually a lot of different conflicts and stuff like that took place in the colonies. We're going to talk a little bit about an incident that took place during King Philip's War, which was 1675 to 1676. Now, do the math. 1675 is about 100. Well, it is 100 years before the American Revolution. So imagine the United States. Well, the United States as it was, the colonies of England at the time. 100 years before the Revolution. So we're talking about early colonial period.
So when you say King Philip, you're referring to Metacom?
That's correct. So King
Native
Philip,
American chief?
That's correct. So
Okay.
King Philip was the anglicized name that was given to Metacom, who was the leader of a conglomerate of native forces.
You know what's ironic is there's a good golf course in the local area called Metacomet.
yes,
Named after
there is.
Chief Metacom.
And actually, Metacom was a offspring of Massasoit. And Massasoit, as we all know, was the Indian chief that was presiding over the Indians who met the Pilgrims, which I didn't know if you knew that.
Massasoit.
Massasoit.
Right.
It's a cool name. Anyway, so King Philip's War, a lot of people don't know about it, which is a shame because it's not mentioned much, but it's actually one of the bloodiest conflicts in world's history as far as per capita. Did you know this?
No.
So approximately 10% of the population was killed during
10% of the local area.
Right. So let's put that in terms of modern day. So let's say, how many people are in America? 400 million? About that?
I don't have the number, but it's hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions. Let's say it's 400 million. That would mean 40 million casualties.
Oh.
It's about the same impact.
But at that time, they were only like 100 white men, so that was pretty bad.
No, it was more than that. So anyway, so it was one of the bloodiest conflicts. 17 white settlements were destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Countless natives were killed. It was just a horrible conflict. It only took place over about a year period. It all started, actually, this is right up my alley. This is military history around the colonial period. I have a lot of background in that area, so I'm going to talk about it for a little.
Okay.
For a minute.
You want to talk about your very impressive thesis you wrote about...
Yes. I will discuss that on a future episode.
Marksmanship?
Marksmanship, yes. However, so actually all started when there was are you familiar with the term praying Indian?
A praying Indian?
Yes.
Is that like the lady on the Land O'Lakes container?
That's about right.
Oh.
Anyway, so a praying Indian was what the English colonists used to call Indians who were sympathetic to their cause and helped them out and stuff like that, and actually became converted from the pagan religion.
I see. So praying referring to Christianity.
That's
of
correct.
sorts.
So basically, any native that they had converted would become a praying Indian.
Yes.
Anyway, a praying Indian by the name of John Sassamone was found murdered. Well, he was found dead underneath the ice in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and because he was a praying Indian and a sympathizer to the English, the English colonists believed that he had been murdered by other natives who were upset at him.
I see. A turncoat, if you will.
That's correct. So basically, 3 of Metacom's men, of natives, were rounded up, tried, convicted, and were killed, were executed. And as a result, the Indians raided some villages, and then the colonists responded, and so on and so forth, and then you have a war.
Yes.
That's basically what happened. So it was nasty fighting. They didn't care about women, children, on either side. Didn't care. Women,
pretty brutal.
Children. They would just kill everybody who was in the town, and it was just nasty. If you ever want to do some reading on it, there's a really good book by an author by the name of Jill Lepore, which I believe it's called The Name of War. It's about the King Philip's War conflict. Check it out. Anyway, so we're gonna go to a specific day. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, March 26, 1676. So towards the end of the conflict, there was a contingent of men. Left Rehoboth, Massachusetts. You know where Rehoboth is?
I do.
That's down by
195 there.
Yeah,
down towards the Cape there.
So those people who are listening who have no idea what the heck we're talking about.
Nope.
Anyway, they left Rehoboth under the command of a man named Captain Michael Pierce, and they actually were headed out to find some Indians to kill. That's basically what they were.
Here's what I find amazing to me, because just quickly, ends up happening. They go from Rehoboth, they end up in Cumberland at some point.
Yeah, well, good. Yes,
it's amazing how they got around. You think about it now. That's even driving there. Well, it takes some time.
You're correct. However, when you think about the times, there was no, there were no roads, like you say. However, everything was as the crow flies, basically. So you just walk in straight lines, and if you look at things in straight line terms, it's actually not that far. So anyway, so they stepped off as in marching, 60 men. And they were actually led into an ambush by some turncoat double agent Indians.
How did they do the land nav, you think? Did they have compasses and things? How'd they get around?
They would just throw a crow in the air and they would follow it.
Oh.
I have no idea how they did it.
They warged into a crow?
No, they used Dead Reckoning, and they used celestial alignments. I have no idea, man. I'll find out. Anyway, so they were ambushed by about 1,000 Indians along the Seekonk River, and a majority of the colonists, including Captain Pierce, were killed. But there were some that survived, and there was actually 9 There were 9 English colonists who were captured, including one by the name of Benjamin Buckland. It's going to become very famous in our story.
Yeah.
So anyway, 9 of them were captured by the Indians, and they were led into the woods around present-day Cumberland, Rhode Island, to a native camp not far from a tributary of the Blackstone River. This is, as you said, present-day Cumberland, Rhode Island. It's actually on the site of the Cumberland Library, present day.
Right, which we'll talk more in depth about.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
So anyway, he was really concerned about what was going to happen to him, Benjamin Buckland. And do you want to know why?
He was concerned?
Yeah,
probably I would be.
Because word about what happened to Indian captives had spread throughout the land.
Well, that would instill fear in, I think, just about anybody.
Yes. However, and he was afraid. However, Mr. Benjamin Buckland was far different from your everyday average European colonist. He was abnormally tall. Did you know that? It was said that he was well over 6 feet in height at a time when the average male was between 5'5" and 5'6".
Oh, I would have been above average back then.
You would have been above
I would
average.
have felt like a giant.
He was definitely a giant. He must have looked like a literal giant, but beyond his massive height, he actually had an even more abnormal physical trait that made him unique. It was said that he had a double set of teeth, in that he had 2 sets of teeth all the way around. Imagine that. Imagine
like a shark.
Imagine the orthodontist bill for Mr. Benjamin Buckland.
He probably didn't have many teeth. They didn't have good oral hygiene back then.
No, but he had a double row of them.
To scrub with corn brushes and things.
Yeah. So anyway, although verified actual accounts of what befell Buckland and his compatriots at the native camp are not recorded, local tradition has it that the men were tortured to death. While not all Indian captives were disposed of in this manner, the circumstances of what came to be known as Pierce's fight, along with the high tensions being experienced by both sides of the conflict, recently escalating conflict, led many to believe that the colonists met their fate being tortured to death. Now, you want to hear about some of the torture techniques that the Indians would have used?
I want to hear some of the brutal and disturbing and grotesque ways that they used to kill human beings.
Grotesqueries. So some accounts dictate that they would skin them alive, meaning they would just... And actually, Game of Thrones reference, flaying alive, which was the manner of death of the Boltons.
That's right.
They would hang you upside down, and
they met their demise, though, didn't they?
The Boltons did.
Hey, a quick aside. What were your thoughts on the last episode? If you're a Game of Thrones,
let's talk about that after. Let's get to that after.
You want to?
Yeah, we'll get into that.
All
after.
right.
You're gonna derail the story. So anyway, they would skin them alive sometimes. Other times they would suspend them and have their skin slowly sliced open, and burning embers were placed into the wounds.
This is all while they're alive. They're hanging there.
This is all while they're alive.
They must tie them up in some.
Yeah,
fashion.
they would be hung and by all and sometimes upside down, sometimes right side up, and they would cut little slices into their skin and put burning embers in there until they died. That sounds like a fun way to go.
And they complain about waterboarding these days.
Right.
Imagine if we did that.
No. And so the gruesome experience was repeated until they died. So whatever the methodology was, the fact is that these 9 colonists were killed and left unburied in the area surrounding the present Cumberland Public Library. And we'll talk about how to get there because it's a public site and you can get there. The Indians evidently broke camp and they moved on. Slowly, word of what happened to the colonists spread throughout the countryside. You know how that happened back in the day.
Oh, word of mouth.
Word of mouth. So some colonists came upon the scene, found the dead compatriots, and then they buried them, and they placed a marker over the grave. As word of this massacre spread, the war intensified. But by the summer of 1676, the war was over, and it actually ended when Metacom was captured and killed, which that's not good.
Well, I mean, I guess they would have been justified at that point.
Yeah, well, it was, like I said, it was a war. They caught him, they killed him, and so on and so forth. However, by 1790, rumors about the massacre and the freakish nature of Benjamin Buckland's appearance had become a local legend. A man named Dr. Bowen from Providence, Rhode Island, which is nearby, was intrigued by the description of Buckland, and he wanted to examine the remains for his medical research. So he led an expedition to the site to exhume the body. This is 1790, so this is 100 years later, more than 100 years later. So working under the cover of night, because that wasn't allowed back in the day. You couldn't just go in and dig up bodies.
So like lantern light and things like that.
By lantern light and things of that sort. So they were able to exhume the remains of Buckland, and they confiscated his skull before the local townspeople drove them away, probably with pitchforks and some sort of torch, if I had to imagine. So, but reports of the skull from the time said that it was in fact abnormally large and did contain a double row of teeth. Later accounts relay that Buckland's skull was donated to the Rhode Island Historical Society sometime in the 1800s, but the skull has gone missing, and records don't indicate what may have befallen it.
I bet you if he lived today and he wore a ball cap, he'd have the ball cap. You know how they have the notches in the back?
Yeah.
He'd probably have to use the very last notch that barely hangs on.
He'd have the big head.
Yeah.
So today, the site of the massacre is known as Nine Men's Misery, and that's because of, the horrible death that these 9 folks endured on this site. You can get to it, and it's easily accessible by a short stroll through a wooded area directly behind the Cumberland Library. And actually, we've been there, and I want to talk about that in a minute. But if you go to the Cumberland Library, they'll give you a map of how to find it. There's like these hand-drawn maps that they have, and a lot of people go just for that, just to look around. But it is not a very well-traveled site. You won't normally find people back there because it is a little bit of a stroll from the main road. But, however, there was, and I know you're going to talk about the Cistercian monastery that was nearby. But so ultimately there was a Cistercian monastery built and the monks didn't want anybody robbing the graves or vandalizing the site because it had became somewhat of a legendary area. They put a cement marker over the grave in the 1920s. So they constructed that right over the original marker that the original colonists put on. So that actually makes the location the oldest veterans memorial in the United States.
That's true.
So a lot of people don't know that. And it's become somewhat of a local attraction for fans of the paranormal and strange stuff. In fact, there's actually numerous reports of ghostly phenomenon that's said to occur at this site, including everything from general feelings of uneasiness to full-bodied apparitions. And
there's also reports of a phantom horse galloping around.
Yeah. So some of the reports that we've heard over the years, and this is not a very well-known site. Even in New England, a lot of people don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be more famous. It's a very eerie site. We've been there. But some of the reports are of a ghostly horseman that will ride up behind you as you're on one of the trails.
That's right.
And we've been back there. You can get lost pretty easy back there.
Yeah,
There's a lot of weirdo trails that go.
Yeah, it's very wooded. There's trails that go in various directions.
Yep.
And if you, like Mike said, if you get the map, you can follow one of the trails to the actual stone cairn. Is that how you say it? Cairn? Is it cairn or cairn?
Cairn. Something.
Yeah, something like
C-A-I-R-N.
that. But anyway, you can see the plaque.
Yep.
And on the plaque, it actually says 9 men's misery.
It does.
It says, and I'll quote it if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says, on this spot. You listening?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're sipping over there.
I was sipping my
Oh,
coffee.
you just ruined my mojo, man.
You said on this spot.
Oh, on this
I'm right
spot.
here, man. I'm not going anywhere.
On this spot, where they were slain by the Indians, were buried the 9 soldiers captured in Pierce's fight, March 26, 1676. So the plaque is there.
And yeah, let's talk about a little bit about our experience there.
Yeah,
because
so
it's something of a personal nature.
Yeah, just to back up a second. So, roundabout, I would say 1900, late 1800s, early 1900s, the Cistercian monks of the Order of the Trappists.
Ooh, the Trappists.
Yeah, they trap things. They go
Is
around.
that what they call them now? They set little traps for
They
things?
do. They trap little beavers.
Oh,
and
this is a family show.
they capture them and then they set them free.
Mm-hmm.
They went under the guidance of Dom John Murphy.
Dom John Murphy?
Yeah, who was the leader of the Cistercians.
Wasn't he in a movie in the 70s about a guy with a 2x4?
That was Big John Studd, wasn't he? He was a professional wrestler.
Oh, I'm thinking of something. Walking Tall, but it was somebody else.
Oh, they remade that with The Rock, I
That
think.
was Sheriff Buford T. Pusser was his name. Continue.
Yeah. So anyway, they bought about 530 acres of land where the Cumberland Library now sits, and the monastery once sat in that location. So not only does it have a history of torture and battles as far as the Native Americans and the white men were concerned,
Right.
but to make it even more creepy than that, we all know how monks are creepy.
They are.
They walk around
They're
chanting
all silently.
with their little round bald haircuts.
Well, that's the Franciscans have that.
Oh.
I don't think they all have that.
They don't all have that?
No.
Okay.
They don't all have the weirdo reverse, whatever you call it, the hole in the middle of the head.
Yeah, no. That's a pretty cool look, though. I think more people should do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, as I stated, the monastery was located on that location, and they were there for probably about 50 years or so, I would say. Mm-hmm. And can you imagine the various things that took place in the abbey?
Well,
and, in the church over that course of time. So, but back in the 50s, I think it was the early 50s, 1952, 53 or something like that. Let me refer back to my notes. 1950 or so.
Yep.
There was a tragic fire that started in the basement of the church, I believe.
Some monk was lighting up his pipe or something.
Nah, they were down there. They were smoking the green stuff.
They were doing something nasty.
Those monks used to get funky, I think.
Yep.
But anyway, unfortunately, it burned the church almost down to the ground.
It is unfortunate.
There's some ruins still left, but so the monks, they moved out. They got out of there. They pretty much abandoned the area, and it remained that way for a while. And when Mike and I were youths, before the town of Cumberland took over and attached the library to it,
Yep.
there used to be an event there. It was called the Haunted Monastery, basically.
Yes, the Haunted Monastery. I remember that vividly from a youth.
Yeah.
Actually, it was one of the, if I may digress for just a moment.
Sure.
So the Haunted Monastery was a haunted attraction, much like you would find in the world today, where, you pay an admission fee and you go to get scared. People jump out of bushes and so on and so forth. But this one was unique because it was one of the only ones in the area. And I believe we were in middle school at the time. And it was one of the first. It was actually the first time that I participated in a group date.
Yes, there were
date.
young ladies involved.
There were.
I was so excited.
Yeah,
I could barely contain my little self.
We planned it for weeks. my father offered to drive us to the haunted monastery in our big grocery getter van.
Yeah, it was like a 1986 Chevy van.
It was a big van with a bed in the back. No, there was no bed, but it was a big cavernous van with no seats.
Yep.
So we piled in the back of it, no seat belts and nothing, and we traveled to the haunted monastery in Cumberland, where we thought we were going to get lucky.
Yeah, and believe it or not, there was no alcohol involved.
No, this is middle
so you
school.
can only imagine what kind of courage it took for me
very much.
To get close to these ladies.
Yeah.
And I felt fortunate because it was
some of the hottest ladies I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know how we pulled that off.
I don't know
but
either.
it was cold outside, and a couple of the ladies were kind of nuzzling up to me to keep me warm. Oh man,
I don't know how that happened either.
What a good time that was.
And of course, at the end of the night, where everyone can expect, nothing happened.
No, but we did go back to your place. We ended up in the basement.
Yes.
And
anyway,
yeah, it was fun.
The haunted monastery was an annual attraction that they did on this site, and it had nothing to do with the area where the Nine Men's Misery was. Actually in the front, in the frontal area there.
Yeah,
they actually used to have a medieval times type fair there as well.
Oh, see, I don't remember that.
In the summertime, yeah, they would do like a very small version of if anyone's from the New England area, they have King Richard's Fair, which is an annual Renaissance fair where everybody comes and dress up. And I actually like going to those things. They're kind of expensive these days.
You eat the giant turkey leg.
You eat the big turkey leg. You get to see some cleavage of women walking around with their corsetry on.
You can go in the torture area. I know you like that.
You know what? What I do in the privacy of my own home is none of your business.
Okay, so at some point in the recent near past, the town of Cumberland assumed control of the property, and they put some walking trails back there. They built a library. They retrofitted a library to the existing remains of the monastery and the church. So if you go to the library, which is on the right side of the building, which is a newer structure, if you go in there and you walk through the hallway, you can get to a hallway that's connecting the new portion to the old portion.
Oh, okay.
And you can see the the Cistercian crosses on the ground, and it's like this marble and ornate decorations. So you can still kind of make out where the monastery and the church were located.
Right. And before you get it, I know you're going to talk a little bit about the reputation of the monastery, but before we get to that, I wanted to cover just our personal experiences at the Nine Men's Misery site, because it is a little bit. It's probably what I would say maybe 500 yards from. Would you say about from the monastery itself?
Well, the tree line is, but you have to walk through the woods a little bit to get there.
So anyway, the site of Nine Men's Misery, where the marker is that Jay just read a couple minutes ago, is the colonists are buried there. So it's essentially a graveyard. So it should be treated with some respect, some modicum of respect. But you find, natty ice cans littered about.
Of course.
From the idiot kids that go there and drink and graffiti and stuff. They do their best to kind of keep it nice and it's also, it's a dare spot that you go because it's supposedly really haunted and so on. But the times that I've been there, my personal experience is I've never seen an apparition or anything like that. However, it is a really uneasy feeling being there. One of the things that I noticed is that it's very quiet, where it doesn't seem like there's a lot of bird activity. There's no, how you're normally walking through the woods, you hear a lot of different ambient noises. You can't really hear any of that there. It's really kind of a downtrodden place.
So I think so we're right about the halfway point in the show. So I think what we're going to do is we'll take a quick break. We're going to collect ourselves. We have a little bit, a musical bit, if you will, spoken word / musical bit that we're going to do.
Spoken word poetry.
And after that, we're going to get back into some of the haunted experiences at the library and the monastery grounds.
Yes.
I have a story to tell that something that occurred to me and my family when I was there, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Interesting.
So we'll get to that in just a second. So as you know, here on the Eon Project, we really enjoy, breaking up the show a little bit. We enjoy musical numbers. We enjoy guessing games. We enjoy sexually explicit Mad Libs, things of that sort.
Things that make you go,
So today I thought what we'd do is we'd combine a few of these things. So Mike and myself were tasked with coming up with or getting the lyrics to popular 80s hits.
Yes.
80s songs.
And what we have to do, it's a game, and you can play along with us. We're going to read the lyrics to these songs in spoken word beat poetry format.
Yes.
And the other person has to guess what song it is.
That's right.
So it's going to be a little bit, we haven't played this game before.
We haven't done this,
but it's going to be fun.
We'll see who can come out on top.
Play along with us, and you're on the honor system. Let me know if you win, and you can get a magnet.
See, I'm usually good about the game, like on the radio when you play that game when the actual song is going.
Right.
But I don't know if I could do it
without the notes
in this sense.
Without the notes of the music.
You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
All
okay.
right.
So, here we go. Ready? Build up your confidence so you can be on top for once. Wake up. Who cares about little boys who talk too much? I've seen it all go down. The game of love was all rained out. Let me be the one to hold you.
It sounds like some sort of love song.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, a love ballad.
Yes.
So that makes me think of, what were some of the bands that had some good love? There were a lot of good love ballads in the 80s.
A lot of good love ballads, yes.
And when the very first line, I thought that I was going to get it there for a second, but it's escaping me. Is it a Bon Jovi song?
It is not. Is that your final guess?
Yeah, it's not coming to me. So I think you should actually sing it in the way it's supposed to be now.
Okay, I'll sing it the way it's. Build up your confidence so you can be on top for once. Wake up.
Oh, that's Mr. Big.
Yes, Mr. Big.
To be with you.
To be with you.
Yes.
Yes. I think it was my singing ability.
To build up your confidence. I knew it.
Drove that one.
Oh, I should have known that one. All right, here we go. You ready?
I'm ready to go.
I'm saying all the things that I know you'll like. Making good conversation. I gotta handle you just right. You know what I mean. I took you to an intimate restaurant, then to a suggestive movie. There's nothing left to talk about unless it's horizontally. Let's see if you can get this one.
Oh my
this
God.
might be tough for you.
Oh my God! So it's
I'll give you. It's 1982. It was released.
suggestive movie.
I'll even give you another clue. It's a female singer.
Okay, female singer. So given that time frame, I'm gonna guess that it's Lita Ford. No.
Nope.
Stevie Nicks.
No.
I'm sorry, I have no idea.
That's Physical by Olivia Newton-John.
Really?
Yeah.
So wow. No, I didn't.
And I don't know the melody.
I was gonna say,
I can't sing it.
How do you sing it? We don't know.
I'm not sure.
That one's up in the air.
All right. Go ahead.
Or do we give the listeners a breather or what?
No. We'll just get into the next one.
Okay, here's the next one. Ready?
Yeah.
I don't drink or smoke. Ain't into dope. Won't try no coke. Ask me how I do it. I cope. My only addiction has to do with the female species.
Oh, I think I know who this is.
I eat 'em raw like sushi.
Is that Ted Nugent?
No.
Oh, that sounds like something he'd write, though.
That sounds like a Ted Nugent song. It does, but it's not. You want me to do it again?
Oh.
This may be a little challenging because you'll know the refrain of the song.
Yeah.
But you won't know the verses. That's probably why.
All right. Well, sing the chorus then.
No, because that gives it away instantaneously.
Oh, I'm not gonna get it. I don't like sushi.
Ave, arriba, rico.
Oh my God.
Ave, arriba, suave.
Rico Suave.
Rico Suave
Seriously?
by Gerardo.
You pulled that one out. Oh my God.
He eats them like sushi, man.
All right.
Let's
see. All right. I'll do one more. This is another female artist. I'll give you a clue on that.
You're stuck on the females.
1985.
Oh, you know what? That would have been helpful to give the year.
Yeah. I made it through the wilderness. Somehow, I made it through. Didn't know how lost I was until I found you. I was beat, incomplete. I'd been had, I was sad and blue. But you made me feel, you made me feel shiny and new.
Is that Aretha Franklin?
Nope.
Made me feel shiny and new. Oh, that's a tough one. It sounds very familiar.
You made me feel shiny and new. Did that help?
No. I don't know what that one is. What is that?
That's Like a Virgin by Madonna.
Oh, like a... Oh.
Yes.
This game is a lot harder than it sounds.
It is.
You figure you'll get it right away, but when you... And actually, there's a friend, and I'll give him a shout-out. There's a friend of mine named Jeff, lives in Nashville.
Yeah.
He's a huge music fan.
I bet he's listening.
Actually, he probably is. He's a big fan of the show. And every once in a while, we'll send him random lyrics, usually from classic rock songs or that 70s. He gets them every single time.
Really?
And he doesn't Google them. I know he doesn't because he gets
You
back
think
to
he would have got that?
I don't know. If Jeff, if you're listening, send me a message that if you got any of those, because I bet you did. I bet you got some of that.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I think we'll jump into some of the paranormal events
Yes.
supposedly that have occurred, on the Nine Men's Misery site as well as the monastery area.
So we're discussing the oldest veterans memorial in the United States, which is Nine Men's Misery, located behind the Cumberland Library, Cumberland, Rhode Island.
So the reason we mention the Cistercians, because they have an interesting place and history in this country that most people don't realize, and that's one of the things that Scott Walter likes to talk about, is how he believes that they're tied in with, Norse and possibly Irish travelers, pre-Columbian travelers, around the year 1000 A.D. And so on, that came to the Americas long before Columbus, obviously, and explored the New World, and left some interesting clues around the area. One being the Kensington Runestone,
Yes, the Kensington Runestone,
which Scott Walter's an expert on.
He wrote a whole book on that, did he not?
He did. I won't go into too much detail today, but it's a runic stone that was found in Minnesota by some farmers when they were digging up their land, and supposedly predates Columbus by hundreds of years.
Oh.
But the Cistercians supposedly were kind of involved in all of that early exploration of America. So they have a lot of secrets, to be sure. So the Cistercian monastery, which part of it is still there, there's a lot of the symbology and things associated with early American pre-Columbian explorers. I found when you're just walking around there, it's pretty interesting.
Right.
So we're gonna do the Scott Walter follow-up interview. Probably post that a couple days after this
really
show is posted.
I'm sorry to interrupt
Yep.
you. He gets involved with a lot of the, as you say, a lot of the other sites around America that where it's indicated in that people pre-Columbian were. European settlers were here pre-Columbian. Actually, it's very interesting. I'm not sure. I think he gets into it. There's a connection with the Templars and Henry Sinclair. And if you've never read anything about that, it's very interesting. There's stuff that's in Rosslyn Chapel, which is a Henry Sinclair family built chapel that's in Ireland, I believe, right?
Scotland.
I'm sorry, Scotland.
Yep.
And there's some ornamentation on the Rosslyn Chapel that shouldn't be there. Just to whet your whistle slightly. There's a relief. You know what a relief is?
Oh yeah,
it's like a relief is
comes off of the surface.
That's correct. It's like a sculpture that comes off of a surface of a wall or fixture. Anyway, there's a relief of maize, which is not found in Scotland naturally, and wouldn't have been discovered in Scotland for many hundreds of years. After Rosslyn Chapel had been built.
You know what I always thought was interesting and a redundant statement? You know, like around Halloween, they have these, you go out on these hay rides, and they have these apple fairs and things like that.
Yes.
They have corn mazes.
I was going to say, it's a maze.
It's a maze.
It's amazing. Ha ha!
Yeah.
Did you see what I did there?
All right, so not to go too far off topic.
No.
So, like we said, being that there's been a lot of tragedy associated with the local area, being that there was a monastery there, probably several deaths throughout the course of the history of the monastery and the abbey.
Abbey normal.
So it's caught the attention of various paranormal groups, and Mike and I have done our own informal research into the area, and we've been there on numerous occasions.
Actually, I'll get to that in a minute. I spoke to the director of the library once. Did you ever hear that story?
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
Anyway, continue. I'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah. So, even the TV show Ghost Hunters has done an episode there, which you can go out and you can watch that for yourself on YouTube or whatever. Take that for whatever it's worth. But when I myself was there, I used to. My children were much smaller. They used to like to go there and take part in the various children's activities that were there.
And there's a nice playground there to this day.
There is, yeah.
There's a very nice playground that the kids have played in.
So my son always thinks that, he finds this stuff interesting as well. And so I told him a little bit about the history of the library and how it was supposedly haunted, and they investigated it and all that stuff. So we're in the library. Mm-hmm. We enjoyed our festivities at the library, looking at books, playing some games, things of that sort, arts and crafts, and all kinds of things like that.
It's a whole day.
So we went ahead with my two small children in tow. I walked from the library side into the older hallway that connected
So you went into an unauthorized area.
No.
Oh.
This is authorized.
Oh, you're supposed to be there.
It's the old hallway that connected the monastery to the church, I guess.
see.
And you can walk through there because at the end of the hallway, the darkened hallway, there is an elevator
Right.
that you can take. I believe we were on the first floor. You can take it to the second floor. Now, supposedly there's 3 levels there, right?
Right. What'd you have to go upstairs for, though?
We didn't go upstairs. We went into the elevator.
Oh, what would you need to get in the elevator for? Oh, there's another level.
There's another level to the library.
I got it. Okay.
So we walked down the old hallway, and now there is a 3rd floor, but you cannot access it from the elevator because it's only a public. You have to have a special key and all this stuff to go up top. So as I'm telling my son about the haunted history of this place, we hit the number 2 to go to the 2nd floor.
Right.
The elevator, the doors close. The elevator shoots up to the 3rd floor, shoots up. I don't know what floor it's on. I'm assuming it's the 2nd floor.
Not on the 30th floor.
Because the light for the number 2 was illuminated. Right. So like the doors open. So the doors suddenly opened, and we were in a darkened. It looked like a hell pit.
What?
Oh yeah, it was like there was fallen rocks on the ground.
Rocks.
Like cinder blocks. Like
Really?
the place was in disarray.
It was in shambles.
It was darkened, and my son, not expecting this, when the door opened, he was going to run out into the hallway.
Right.
And he got 2 steps out of the elevator and realized that he was walking into the tunnel of death.
Wow.
And
so where the heck were you?
I don't know.
We were on a different level.
We were on some unauthorized level, either that or it was some spiritual portal that we entered.
You laugh, but there's lots of established reports of people who have said they've gotten into elevators, gotten off where they think they're going, and it's not where they think, and there's some sort of time slip, some sort of interdimensional travel. So was that you?
I possibly. I don't know. I mean, so I quickly grabbed him by the collar and yanked him back into the elevator because I wasn't quite sure what was going on up there. Mm-hmm. And we get out of there.
Did you ever find out where that was?
I don't know.
It was probably the basement, if I had to imagine.
Maybe.
That's probably right. So anyway, besides the fact that there's been reported paranormal activity in the monastery and so on and so forth, and in the grounds, one of the supposed paranormal incidents that happened inside the library was the water faucets would turn on and off independently without anybody being there. Now, it's a lot easier to believe that it's a ghost turning on the faucets than it is that it's a plumbing problem, right?
Well, can I tell you this?
It's a lot easier to think.
I've been to the library numerous times, and they are motion-activated water faucets.
Okay.
So even the slightest
sure.
movement will turn them on.
Wow.
And not only that, I mean, they're electronic, so they could malfunction.
Well, anyway, one of the reports too that I had run across was that supposedly a ball of light will chase you through the grounds.
Yeah.
Never saw the ball of light. However, based on all these reports, I did have a conversation with the library director a few years ago. I was looking to see if we could get in there and do some sort of checking or whatever, what have you.
Yep.
And she, in no uncertain terms, told me, look, there is no haunting. There's nothing paranormal that takes place here. I've been here for 20 years. No one has ever said anything to me about it, and it's just all rumors and innuendos that make it out there. So if anyone was going to know, it would be this person.
Which I find ironic because shortly thereafter, they called the Ghost Hunters TV show.
That's correct.
And had them on.
Well, which actually goes to what we talked about before, where sometimes businesses and of the like will say that they're haunted and have these people come out and investigate it just to up the reputation of whatever establishment that it is.
Yep.
So it's not to say that that it is haunted, not to say that it's not, but we just never ran into anything there.
I mean, I would say, if purported spirits and ghosts and paranormal events are real, wouldn't they be pretty much everywhere? There'd be a prevalence of them pretty much anywhere, whether or not you live in an old monastery or you live in a newer home. I mean,
well, I think part of one of the theories about paranormal activity and ghosts and spirits is that they could possibly be an energy that has attached itself to a geographic location because of something that occurred there. So whether there was a severe emotional trauma, whether it was a specific death or an event or so on and so forth, and the Nine Men's Misery Site, if that theory is to be believed, the Nine Men's Misery Site is a perfect place for that because you have the agonizing death of 9 people in a very concentrated area, which actually has I'm sure that type of thing has happened in many, many places that we're not aware of. But this for some reason site gained a reputation as being haunted, and it's continued throughout the years. So who's to say what's going on?
So one thing I wanted to bring up with our guest Nicole last week which, we use the term paranormal and supernatural to pretty much explain things that we don't really understand, right?
Right.
My theory, my take on it is there really is no such thing as paranormal or supernatural. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that there's not mysterious things that happen.
Right.
But if these things happen, like let's take our guest last week who supposedly can see the spirits of dead people and things of that sort. Would that be a supernatural ability? Would that be a paranormal ability? Would that just be an ability that somebody has that some other people just can't harness into? You know what I mean? For example,
Well, that's why we say it's paranormal. It's not necessarily normal.
It's not I believe that these things are normal and natural. We just don't understand them.
Right.
You know what I mean? For example, like a track athlete who can sprint quickly. I don't have that ability.
No.
Matter of fact, I rolled my ankle running up the street the other day.
You did?
No, it was not good.
I've come to the conclusion that my athletic prowess is long in the past.
Long since left you, huh?
Long in the past, yeah.
7 surgeries ago.
Yeah, well, so we all have our crosses to bear. But yeah, so to your point, so it's not a matter of supernatural ability, meaning that it's magic.
Exactly.
It's something that we just don't understand. Well, some people can and some people can't.
Right.
That's all.
That's right.
So that's why they call it that.
You're right about that.
Anyway.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about, what kind of shoes you're wearing?
No. So anyway, we got some great shows that are coming up in the near future. We're getting towards the fall, which we all enjoy the fall.
Sure.
Especially in New England, the leaves start to change. It's the end of August, and the leaves are already starting to change. It's been abnormally cold. It's all that global warming.
It's a little chilly. It got down to 52 degrees last night on my way home from work.
So we got some shows lined up that are kind of creepy, a little bit. And actually, for those of you who are interested in the true crime genre, and I know I have a lot of Twitter friends and followers who are into the true crime business, so to speak. We're going to be talking about the Amityville horror case.
That's right.
And the associated murders that took place there. We're planning actually a multi-episode arc related to the Amityville horror, so that the parts of it related to true crime you guys will be into.
Yeah, and we're always looking for new and interesting guests to bring on. That always ends up being pretty good and well received, I should say.
Yep.
So if you are out there and you have something you want to talk about, if you're a semi-expert on something or you've had a paranormal event take place in your life, we'd like to speak with you.
Yep.
So just send us an email at Mike and... No. What is it?
It's the Eon Project.
I was looking at you and I was thinking
it's the TheEoNProject at yahoo.com. You can also there's a link to our email on our site, which is TheEoNProject.com.
Yeah.
You can also send us a Twitter note or a Facebook post or note or whatever, what have you. We're easily accessible, always here for you.
Yeah, also, I wanted to mention, too, we talked a lot about the Nine Men's Misery location in our local area here. If you are in the local area or you want to come visit from outside the area, you'd like a tour of the area of that location,
Yep.
or you want to just hang out and have a couple adult beverages with us.
You might need some bodyguards, and Jay and I are both physical specimens, if you will.
Yeah, we get some moves on us.
Yep. And we would be very happy to protect you as you walk through the mean streets and back roads of Cumberland, Rhode Island.
Yeah, we'll walk around there. And as Mike stated, Halloween is coming. We don't live too far from Salem, Massachusetts.
No, we don't.
We'll probably do some Halloween-themed episodes.
We are going to do some of that.
Talk about the Salem witch trials.
Yep.
Things associated with that. That should be interesting, too, as we get closer and closer to that particular time of the year.
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, with that being said...
You want to recap?
No.
Oh.
We've already recapped.
Okay. Do you like Big Macs? What do you think of the Big Mac sandwich?
You know what I really liked? I really liked it when they had the Grande Big Mac.
Oh.
Did you ever have that?
Yeah, because just a regular Big Mac's not deaf enough for you.
It was 2 quarter-pound patties instead of the smaller...
Yeah,
the smaller patties.
I've seen that.
It was delicious.
So
they don't have it anymore.
I got to tell you a quick Big Mac story before we go.
Yep.
So, relatively recently, I was out. A couple friends of mine. We went to a local establishment. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of fun. We had some adult beverages.
No.
It was an open mic. We played some music. So on the way home, of course, you get that post-bar, post-alcohol hungers,
yes,
right?
Sure.
So I try to avoid fast food whenever possible.
Right.
But at that point, I was hungry. I was about a 0.20 blood alcohol content, so I didn't care what I was eating. So we decided to go through the local McDonald's drive-thru at roughly about 2 a.m. So, of course, we proceeded to order
Luckily, it was open.
A bevy of, or a plethora, if you will, of greasy foodstuffs, and
Because you think you can never get enough when you're that hungry.
so one of the things that was ordered was a Big Mac.
One of the things that was ordered.
One of the things, yes.
Okay.
So the Big Mac, it's not a complex burger by any
Well, I
means.
don't know. There's a lot of ingredients. There's 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun.
Oh, before I finish my story, do you remember the McDonald's menu song?
No, I don't remember that.
We were kids. You get a Happy Meal. They gave you a little record and it had all the.
No.
It went something like this: Big Mac, McDLT, a quarter pounder with some cheese fillet, a fish, a hamburger, a cheeseburger, a Happy Meal, McNuggets, tasty golden French fries, large size.
That was really good, and I don't know how you
But anyway,
remember that.
so I know the whole thing still.
Apparently.
I memorized it. But anyway, so I get my Big Mac. I'm starving.
Yeah.
I take a nice big bite of the Big Mac because I can eat a Big Mac. When I'm real hungry, I can eat it in like 3 bites. Right? I squish it down and eat it. There was nothing in the Big Mac.
Then you get the heaves.
There was bun, a little bit of meat, another section of bun, a little more meat, another bun. No lettuce.
No lettuce.
No special sauce. It wasn't handcrafted.
It wasn't
like we talked about.
handcrafted.
Oh my God, I was so upset.
So what did you do? Did you bring it back?
No, I ate it.
No, because it was 2 in the morning and you needed to eat.
Exactly, I ate it anyway. It was one dry burger. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
That's horrible, man. It never
bad.
looks like it. You know what? If you ever got food at a fast food joint and
Yeah.
it looked like the ad, you would be astounded.
True.
It never looks like that.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I watched a documentary once about how they stage food for
do.
ads.
It's not
and
even
stuff.
food.
It's not. A lot
They
of
like
times
put varnish on
That's
it.
correct. A lot of times it's not real food. One of the things that sticks out in my mind is ice cream. When you see ice cream on an ad, it's
Yeah.
not ice cream. It's usually vegetable shortening, and they just color it,
Yeah.
and so that it doesn't melt. Because they take pictures of it and it takes a long time, and
Yep.
they don't want it to melt. So a lot of times it looks like it's delicious and appetizing, and in actuality, you wouldn't want to eat it.
Right, they paint it.
Yep,
They do all kinds of.
There's
strange
actually a
things to it.
job, food stager, or I don't know exactly what they call it, but you're like a presentation
You're like
artist.
the fluffer of the food world.
Yes.
Interesting. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up,
Yeah. Why don't we call it a day?
and we'll be back next time with a new and exciting episode.
Send us a note. We'd like to hear from you. We do hear from our fans every once in a while. Fans, friends. Drop us a note at TheEoNProject@yahoo.com. Check us out on our website, TheEoNProject.com.
Yeah, and of course, our Facebook friends are still staring at us here, and
I don't even think it's working. But
I'm
we'll
not
find
even
out.
quite sure if that's received or not.
I don't
if
think
it's
so.
well received at all. So
they don't want to see us
It was an
anymore.
experimentation, and we'll see how it goes, and we may never do it again.
No.
Or next time we'll just be in a couple pair pasties and
In case anyone's watching.
thong underwear.
Right.
All right, I think that wraps it up. So until next time, just remember, the truth exists. Believe it.